Okay, problem number 23. Late last autumn, comma, Giuseppe Ferrua stood, comma, on the hillside he farms overlooking Italy's Serchio River, comma, a landscape of low mountains dotted with vineyards. Seems like there's a lot of commas here. Let's look. This one we definitely need to know our comma rules. So late last autumn, put late last autumn, comma, Giuseppe Ferrua, I'm just going to put his initials. So this, late last autumn, obviously it's the dependent clause. Giuseppe Ferrua stood, so I don't think we need this comma, stood on the hillside he farms overlooking Italy's Serchio River Valley. So late last autumn, that's the dependent clause. And we have a comma. Giuseppe Ferrua stood on the hillside he farms overlooking Italy's Serchio River Valley. So this is a complete sentence. So this is the independent clause. All of this. Late last autumn, dependent clause, comma, Giuseppe Ferrua stood, forget about this comma, we don't need this. Giuseppe Ferrua stood on the hillside he farms overlooking Italy's Serchio River Valley. That's the independent clause. So this whole thing, this whole phrase is one independent clause. So this independent clause is obviously composed of one dependent clause. So this is a complete sentence. Late last autumn, comma, Giuseppe Ferrua stood on the hillside he farms overlooking Italy's Serchio River Valley. So that's one independent clause. And then there's a comma, a landscape of low mountains dotted with vineyards. That's a dependent clause. So this first independent clause is made up of a smaller dependent clause and a smaller independent clause. So this makes up this, and then we have comma dependent clause. So A has an additional comma that we don't need. So we just don't need anything here. We don't need a semicolon because a semicolon separates two independent clauses. We obviously don't need dash or hyphen. We don't need any punctuation here. So the correct answer is D. So this one, it's important that we know our comma rules, and independent clauses can be made up of smaller dependent and independent clauses. Late last autumn, that's an incomplete phrase. That's why it's a dependent clause. Giuseppe Ferrua stood on the hillside he farms overlooking Italy's Serchio River Valley. All of this is one independent clause. Late last autumn, Giuseppe Ferrua stood on the hillside he farms overlooking Italy's Serchio River Valley. So that's the independent clause, comma, a landscape of low mountains dotted with vineyards, comma, dependent clause. So the correct answer is D. I think we have one more question to do. I believe that is number 43. I think 43 is the last question on this PSAT exam. So we will do this last question 43 in the next video. I will see you there.